Hello and welcome. Today's date is April 6th, 2017. I almost said 16 because sometimes I still make that mistake. And welcome to the second installment of The First Cut. This is DannyVNCR here, and I'm joined here with Red Llama, Evan Halfman. Evan, say hello, would you?
Hey.
He's a man of few words. And today we're exploring a different territory of music. We are discovering, Evan, what are we going over today, Evan?
We're going over the world of dark ambient music. Well, not the world of it, but just skim the layer.
We're going over one of the shavings of a continent of dark ambient.
Yes.
Okay. So, Evan, you have prepared a list of dark ambient music for us. Why don't we go ahead and get into that, and I'll let you describe some of these artists.
Okay, so, basically, dark ambient, I wanted that to be my initial exploration, because it's sort of a genre that, if asked, I would say, yeah, I like that. I like dark ambient, but, I mean, I don't really know anything about it. I don't know, I have a handful of artists who I respect in the field, in the world of it, but I figured it would be worth giving it a shot to see if there are any more worthwhile artists, especially on Bandcamp, where, let's be honest, a lot of Bandcamp is kind of average at best.
That's putting it very, very nicely, in my opinion.
So yeah, I figured I'd take a short amount of time to find some artists who or projects that sort of tickled the whatever,
the mental ivories.
The ivories. So, basically, first off here, there's this band artist. I don't know. I didn't read the description, but the project is called Melanohelios.
Yes.
And the album is called Void Acoustics 2 or 11 or II or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is a fun one. This one kind of I feel like was the I guess sort of a nice entry into dark ambient. It's sort of an epitome. It's not really innovating. It's not actually innovating like really at all with the term or the ideas. But I actually was surprised by this one. I did like it. I made some notes on what I liked about it. So, I mean, I like, when it comes to dark ambient, I like for these projects to play around with atonality and non-melodicism and minimalism and, preferably no rhythm. So this one kind of did that nicely, I think. Listen to the whole thing, there are some longer pieces on here for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Void Acoustics 8, as we can see, is almost 23 minutes long.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a longer thing. I'm not going to be so reductive as to say that it's background noise, because it certainly isn't.
Definitely. But that's one of the things I really like about dark ambient too, is that it can be a passive listen, it can be an active listen. It depends really on how you treat it and what you get out of it. And I mean, I think it's one of those genres too that so many people are quick to just be like, this is fucking garbage, this isn't even music. But it's really one of those things that if you try and explore it and open your mind to it and just really give it a try, it can be very musical. And I actually really enjoyed this album myself too. I'm curious to get your take on that idea that the atonal, amelodic, and arrhythmic music, a lot of people seem to think just isn't music.
Well, I figure when I'm looking into this sort of music, I mean, I don't want to feel comfortable. I don't want to feel like I'm at home with it. I mean, I already listen to and work on like rock music with beats and with rhythm and melody and harmony and all the trappings of modern popular music. I feel like when I listen to something like this, I there are a handful of things I want out of it, and definitely one of them is sort of an explorative mindset. And I mean, this one definitely does employ some tropes that I think are overused. I wouldn't say they're cliches, but
Sure.
For one, the drone pedal tones. I always find drone pedal tones to be kind of insipid. So when you have the constant
Right.
through a piece, that can be. Some might call it hypnotic. I just kind of call it boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things I noted down here that I liked was in track 3, which is 9, Void Acoustics 9.
Yeah.
There was like this interesting sort of spoken word part, but it's like a sample. It sounded like a sample of something old, and I found that really interesting. I like when dark ambient can sort of be married with found sounds and field recordings and
Sure.
and sort of sound collage, and that's always interesting to me. I guess my real beef is with any dark ambient that is purely glacial or droning. With me, I'm a big fan of. I mean, I like classical music. I like, or at least music that's inspired by classical music that has movements and can shift very comfortably from one thing to another without, having to take 20 minutes to do it.
Right. My big thing I'll say in, firstly to your point, you said you like those little idiosyncratic things of like, classical influence and the sampling and whatnot. I'm reminded a lot of our mutual friend Obsidian Needle, who actually creates a lot of his drones. I mean, he uses synths a lot, but he also uses his natural voice a lot. Obsidian Needle is also on Bandcamp too. I'll leave a link in the description for him as well, but we won't be reviewing him today because I think that's a little biased and unfair. But he uses his voice a lot, and it's actually very fascinating to see him do what he does. I was lucky enough to have him on my other show, the Green Room Tapes, which you were not there for in this case. I got to see him do it live, which was really, really cool, really special. But the other thing I was going to say too was in the idea of when you said there's just kind of that drumming, or not drumming, droning, humming kind of thing, it's boring. To me, I think that's kind of the big thing that I would say it's lulling to me. It just kind of like, it's like hypnotic, like you said once earlier. And that to me is the big decident difference between like dark ambience and ambience, is that ambience is lulling. It's supposed to give that security, that peaceful wash over feeling. Dark ambience, not so much. Like you said, dark ambience should make you feel uncomfortable. It's about being in a weird space.
I want to feel like when I listen to, and this is going to be corny, but I mean, I feel like when I listen to a good dark ambient piece, I want to feel like I'm in, I don't know, Iceland or something, and it's dark out, the sun is just about to go under the horizon. I can't see but 20 feet ahead of me, and I hear wolves growling in the distance.
Yeah.
Like I want to see like glowing eyes, and I want that feeling of
almost fear.
Oh, definitely fear. So yeah, that's sort of my picture.
My picture, to me, listening to dark ambience just always feels like I'm staring into the void. It's just completely dark and abysmal and unknown.
I guess,
and you're not really supposed to kind of understand what it is that's going on or what's listening to. And yeah, sometimes it does create fear reactions. And I think that's great. I mean, I let's play horror games, so I'm very used to putting myself into fear for the reaction and for the experience of it. So the idea of listening to something that also creates sometimes that sense of terror, balanced with a sense of lulling and spatiality, I think is ecstatic. Before we get a little too far gone, let's wrap up on Melanohelios' final thoughts, and then we'll get on to our next artist. Evan, final thoughts and the score you would give for Melanohelios. We're going to do a 1 out of 10. But let's say
1
this.
to 10?
Yeah, sorry. between 1 and 10. But we'll do that specifically in relation to the genre.
Yeah. Typically, yeah. So when I think of dark ambience, I guess I think of like raison d'être. Excuse my French.
Pardon my literal French.
And like bass communion and
sure,
and stuff like that. So, in relation to those things, it's not really similar to those. It's in its own world where it does, obviously, by the imagery of the artwork, which I do like the artwork. I like
how minimalist it is.
I like the minimalist artwork. I like the fact that if you look closely, you can tell it's actually like a print or a scan of like an actual, as far as I can tell, of like an actual piece of film or something.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the film grain on the very left.
I like that kind of grimy look to it. I actually do like the logo.
I do too.
It's kind of corny, but
it's kind of black metal.
Yeah, it has a black metal look to it. So with that aesthetic put together and like the way this kind of flows through, I hadn't thought about giving this a score before. So
I know.
In relation to its own genre and its faithfulness to dark ambience, give it an 8 out of 10.
I would probably give it, me personally, like a 6 or a 7. I'm gonna go with a 6.5, and the reason I say that is not that I don't like it. I mean, I enjoyed it quite a bit actually, but it's kind of like you said, it didn't bring anything really like nuanced or severely different to me. It just kind of feels like it's a little better than it just falls into place. Mm-hmm. But to me, it just kind of like it is that epitome of dark ambient to me. When I listen to it, I'm gonna just go, yep, this is dark ambient, not like, whoa, who is this? And that's kind of my big thing, I guess. So it's very good, but it feels kind of I don't want to say standard. That sounds so mean. But it just feels like it's a long. I'll just say it feels like it's shaving with the grain.
Yeah, the themes of the void and space and cosmic, the cosmos, like those themes are kind of worn down a little for me. So
I agree.
So that's why I guess it doesn't get a higher score. But
okay,
yeah, that's everything for me.
Yes. Okay, so let's go on to the next one, shall we? The next one, Evan and I listened to. Wow, this whole album is only $4. That's great. Anyways, this next one Evan and I listened to was The Grey Ghost by Auberge, and I'm gonna let him describe the artist itself.
Well, no, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, this one definitely gets I mean, I know I should save my score to the end, but this one's definitely a 10 out of 10. This one's very good. Mm-hmm. This one was definitely the best one I found. So, I mean, it's hard to even know where to start with this one, how much I like it. For one, as I just look at the album cover, the aesthetic is great.
Mm-hmm.
The aesthetic is great.
I strongly agree.
And by aesthetic, I mean, I don't mean just literally the album art, but the sound and sort of just the usage of words and song titles and how everything kind of flows together.
It's really, very classical.
Very classical. So I definitely like that about it. For two, the fact that it's a concept piece, body of work. That's something that's I can't say it's unheard of in dark ambient because I don't know dark ambient. I'm not an expert. So this is something that's definitely novel to me. and I found that extremely interesting. That to me is definitely for me takes a genre that is typically more concerned with wordlessness and just concerned with the void, and just there's no story or theme or anything attached to this. It's just it's just music.
But what I like about
I like that
sorry,
this,
yeah, go ahead.
well, yeah, I like that this has
An idea.
has a concept
Exactly.
that it sticks to. So it's more like an actual. It's more like a record. I mean,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's actually what I was going to say that I really enjoyed about it myself, was that it does feel, so to me it almost feels like when you're listening to dark ambience as a whole, it almost feels like there's somewhat of an active effort to make music but not relate to it. So to make music that cannot be relatable, which is a very hard thing to, I would say, not only to have musically, but to do musically, because you have to really feel the feelings and know the words that you're going to say, that you're putting into music, proverbially, of course, at least in this case. So it's very strange for me to empathize with someone making music that is not meant to be empathized. So that's one of my big fascinations with dark ambient, but also one of my biggest drawbacks is that I don't feel like it's really meant to be understood or empathized really by any capacity. This album, I feel, was different in that way. That this one did have a concept. It was meant to be felt and understood, even if only barely and vaguely. So I'm reminded of course, I can't think of any authors off the top of my head, but the, real writer's use of creating extremely vague imagery that you are then left to put together yourself. So this feels like it has a base for the imagination, whereas I think dark ambience typically is meant to not have anything to hold on to. This has enough that you can kind of create imagery in your own mind, and I think that's really special, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think it should definitely be mentioned about this, since obviously we're not going to be playing any clips, which is kind of a bummer. But
I strongly recommend listening to this one if you have any even slight curiosities about dark ambience. That's the thing with this. It's not a phenomenal example of what dark ambience is.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say.
But it's
tough that
good.
we can't put clips in, but I think the biggest point to be made here is that this is definitely not traditional dark ambient. I mean, this is you could almost argue that it's not really dark ambient. I still think it is dark ambient because it has the tropes. I think it has the criteria, but it plays with sampling, and what it's sampling is it has like these old big band tunes and like gypsy jazz,
oceanic noisescapes and stuff.
Definitely, it has sort of a cold like sampling vibe, the same way that like vaporwave or something would sample a lot of just distant music that feels really detached and adds. There's a lot of record static and tape hiss and stuff like that, and like effects that create a pretty gnarly atmosphere that I was definitely a huge fan of.
Yeah, it is super good. I loved the little, I don't know if it was intentional, but the little subtle vaporwave like foreshadowing of like, we're definitely going to be covering vaporwave sometime in the not in the near future necessarily, but sometime in the future for sure, because I know you have some very strong opinions on vaporwave, and we don't need to get into that now, but wink wink, it'll be there in the future. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Wrap up on Auberge. Is that how you pronounce it? You're better
I'm
with
just
your
gonna
foreign languages than I am.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I was gonna say auberge. It just looks like auberge to me.
You're probably right. You gave it a 10 out of 10. You stuck. You're on that. Yeah.
This is something that if I saw this record in a record store, I mean, I would definitely buy it.
Yeah. I'm gonna say honestly, like I am fighting to not say 10 out of 10. I'll say 9 out of 10. It is absolutely phenomenal, and it may be one of my real favorite pieces of dark ambient. I guess my only slight reservation, and it's part of what I love about it, but my only 1 point drawback, which is obviously not much at all, is it's not very traditionally dark ambient.
Oh, come on. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. Come on, you fuck. But yeah, so that's my only small withdrawal. Is not very traditionally dark ambient, but it's so good, and it is. Yeah, well, yeah. I think all of the points have been said.
If you like BioShock, you'll like this.
Yeah, that was my other big thing too. I felt so much like I was back in Rapture, man. Okay, now let's get into our third artist. Ooh, oh my god, look at that beautiful CD. Oh, and it comes on cassette. That's neat. Okay, so you go ahead and talk about this band. I'm just gonna be looking through some shit real quick.
Okay, so yeah, this band, or whatever, artist or
artist is safe. Oh, it says
person.
right here, Sana Obruent is Paul Lopez, so it's a guy. Yeah, artist.
An artist. So yeah, this is another one that only I listen to, and
well, this is the first one that you've only listened to in this case, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Thankfully.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I see. I get what you're
this
saying.
Is another
this
one,
is another one, comma, that only I listen
which
to.
only I have listened to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I actually really like this one. So I like this one. This was another just like, I mean, certainly wasn't doing like a lot of digging. I wasn't going out on the streets and asking experts like, hey, do you know like the most underground, most interesting dark ambient out there? I'm just going on the Discover tab on Bandcamp and going to new arrivals and going a few pages deep, and my trick that I'm employing here to discover some of the stuff is like the same way I'd discover something if I was in a record store. You know, I'd flip through records or CDs or whatever, and whatever album cover I think looked cool enough, or if the name was cool enough, or if it was cheap enough. Right. I would pick it up and I'd be like, well, I'll consider buying this. So this is one of those ones. I saw that album cover. I mean, I think it looks great. I love that aesthetic. Again, that's like I said earlier about being surrounded by wolves, standing out in a dark, snowy field.
One really solidifies that idea.
Like that gives me this really cold, mortal terror feeling.
Yes, certainly.
This one is actually, really nice. Again, I think it's sort of like the first one, Million No Helios. It plays with sort of those tropes, those classic tropes of just like pedal tones and just open spaciousness. And but what I like, first off, the thing I really liked about this one is that, again, like Auberge, it's like there's a concept to this album.
Oh, really? I didn't
so
see that at all.
So yeah, this one I don't know what it is off the top of my head. It has to do with like a horrible like tragedy that happened in like some kind of skiing accident in Russia back a long time ago, something like that. Anyways,
sure. So
again, there's sort of that concept to glue it all together, which I always like. As far as like the sound goes, it's definitely very open and ambient, but what I respect about this one that I found there was a more of an emphasis on acoustic sounds and not synthetic sounds, yes. Which I find typically if I'm going to listen to something dark ambient and I'm hearing synthy sounds and I'm hearing something that very blatantly sounds like it's just someone sitting in their bedroom with a little MIDI keyboard, that's just not interesting to me. That doesn't take me anywhere else. When I hear something that sounds like it's perhaps a field recording or playing around with weird samples or found sounds.
So what you're saying is you don't like your ambient to be akin to dungeon synth.
Yeah.
So dungeon synth, I want to talk a little bit on that just real quick.
It's
dungeon
cute.
synth
It's
is
cute.
Yeah, it's something Evan and I discovered here on the Bandcamps recently. I don't know. Do you want to touch on that eventually? It's kind of fun in its own weird way.
Maybe.
It's bizarre. It's a very strange little thing. But Evan, describe dungeon synth to all of our beautiful people.
I like dungeon synth. Well, everyone already knows about dungeon synth. It's one of the most popular music genres of all time. So.
Right.
So.
Why don't you explain it to the 3 to 4 people that don't know what it is?
So, it's basically imagine like the corniest black metal album you can think of, where like the intro song is like a little keyboard that's playing like a little harpsichord tune that's going ding 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 in like either harmonic minor or Phrygian dominant, that has maybe some weird little dark like tape hiss sounds in the background. It's kind of like that, where instead of any acoustic instrumentation, it's all synthetic instruments, and it sounds. I don't know what to say if I like it or not. It has a unique sound, but it's definitely cold.
Here's my feelings on it. You ever been fingered at a medieval times? Well, imagine that, but in your headphones. Yeah, and so now before we get too off track, Evan, Sana Obruent.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and get back on that. So, Homeboy is German. I haven't listened to this, so I can't comment on it. But let's go ahead and close out on that. What do you think of the album? What would you give it as a score? Final thoughts.
Well, I'm already sort of, from what I've picked, seem like the Paula Abdul of scoring. So I'm just gonna honestly continue with that theme, and I'm just gonna give it another high score. I'm gonna give it like a 9 or something.
Damn, son.
Well, no, I'll give it an 8.
So that's equivocal to the first one.
Yeah.
I know well enough too to know that if you saw this shit on vinyl at Everyday Music in Bellingham, shout out to Everyday Music in Bellingham, this would give you an instant brainer. It would give you one of those uncomfortable, like you gotta take your sweatshirt off and put it over your front hangings.
Of course.
Kind of brainer. Sorry, that of course thing kills me every time.
So no,
it's good.
I'll give more of a shout out to Avalon here, because I feel like I'd see this likely see this in Avalon.
That's a good point.
Because they have a pretty nice little, nice.
Go to Avalon Records in Bellingham, Washington. They're really fucking great, and we love those guys. Actually,
yeah. Advice: going to Avalon, walk into the front door and go to the left, because to the right is just all the smoke stuff.
Unless you want a nice bong.
But if you want to find some weird shit, they have a nice, like I said, it is definitely little, but a nice little avant-garde industrial drone, dark ambient section that is fun to go through.
And also go listen to Obsidian Needle, because I'll definitely post his thing in this as well. It's also really good. I think you'd really like it if you like what you've been smelling so far.
Yeah.
Evan, closing thoughts to the fans and the people.
Yeah.
To your aspiring future fans.
So, as I said, I guess at the start of this, my sort of quasi-review of this album from this artist, I'm definitely not a professional music speaker. I have thoughts on music, and that's pretty much where that train ends. I'm curious about a few different kinds of music, and there are some kinds of music I know what I don't like, I guess. But dark ambient is one of those kinds that I'm just so torn. I like some of it. I really dislike a lot of it.
Yeah,
and I'm always
that's
just willing to.
Point.
Oh yeah, I'm always willing to give it a shot. So it's always, if I have a couple hours free one afternoon and I've nothing else to do, I'll go try to find some interesting dark ambient.
That's my big thing I'll say with dark ambient is it's one of those things that literally anyone can make, but very few can make it well. That's my big takeaway from dark ambient as a whole, is that there's insanely few people that actually really make good dark ambient, and everyone I know who is a dark ambient fan, which to be honest is very fucking few people, but everyone I know who is a dark ambient fan at least agrees with me on that, is that most dark ambient music that people make as a whole is just total trash. It's just literally somebody who's fucking around with their keyboard or GarageBand or whatever, and they're like, I think this sounds kind of cool. What would I classify this as? And then they come to dark ambient and it sucks.
Yeah, so... Yeah, no, definitely. I mean...
So it's good to have sources that are reliable from people who are actual fans, I think. And I would actually strongly suggest, not to cut you off, I would strongly appreciate for that if any fans of the genre, comment your favorite dark ambient bands below.
Yeah,
and we can listen to them.
That's what I was going to say, but in a more... self-effacing kind of way. Like, if there's anyone here who's still crazy enough to be listening to this, and you feel like you are a big fan of the genre or similar genres, please. I mean, I'm totally open-minded. Just say that Red Llama guy or that Evan guy was way off base and he has no idea what he's even talking about.
That's a good point.
Like,
too.
I want to know what people like in this world, this little niche.
Certainly.
World of.
What Evan's saying in short is he's a sellout, and he wants to sell out as quickly as possible to the highest bidder, or maybe even the lowest bidder. But closing thoughts, go like us on Twitter. God damn. You can find me at DannyVNCR. I don't know what your Twitter. It's just Evan Half, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't really recommend people go over there because I don't have anything on there. It's just a stupid little personal. I probably have like 10 tweets over the course of 5 years. So.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like you'll probably make a Red Llama one eventually.
Well, yeah, I'll probably make a Red Llama one, but I would say go to my personal one.
I have to say, though, definitely go to his personal one, if for the very least to see that grizzly profile picture.
Oh, it's
very old. You had like a fucking half a foot long beard. It was crazy.
I'm pretty proud of it, but
it's a great picture.
It'd
make a phenomenal album cover.
And it makes me look like, well,
it makes you look like fucking Charles Manson is what it makes you look like.
It makes me look like I'm definitely like some kind of black metal godfather or something.
For real. So I'm still gonna leave that goddamn Twitter handle. When you come up with a Red Llama one, I'll change it. Yes. But of course, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And follow us on the Twitters. And go listen to these fucking bands. They're really good. And buy that last band's out. Buy all of their albums. But that last band specifically, I mean, it was $4 fucking. Come on. It's cheap. It's good. I'm going to buy it. Evan, do you have closing thoughts?
I'd love you.
Good night, everyone. If you're drinking, drive home safe. Sober up first. And don't smoke meth.